Well, now it's time to return to modern times and meet the two women who portrayed Martha Washington for us today. Our second Martha Washington was presented by historic interpreter Mary Wiseman. And now, joining us for this discussion, our first Martha Washington, historic interpreter Susan Zickel. Well, thank you very much, both of you, for the wonderful presentation today. I'd like to know how each of you got started portraying Martha Washington. Susan, it's you.
I worked at Colonial Williamsburg for a number of years, and in 1995, Mary had started the Women's Forum for History, which takes place in March, and the subject was Martha Washington, and they were focusing on her youth, and that was the time of her life where she was best associated with Williamsburg. And so we worked with Mount Vernon, we worked with Colonial Williamsburg, we had special projects that were developed for the month of March, and it was very popular, and so they offered me a job permanently as Martha Washington, as the young Martha Washington. So it worked out very well.
So both of you have known each other for quite some time. How did you get started, Mary?
Well, I was working with the characters at Colonial Williamsburg, and I loved working on creating the characters and doing the research, helping them to create their characters, to find out about these people of the past. Well, when I first started studying about Martha Washington, and I had known Susan when she was a young teenage girl who came to work with us, that was a great opportunity as a young person there. I thought she'd be the perfect one to play young Martha Washington. I used to introduce her program, and I'd say, of all the people I've ever studied, Martha Washington is my favorite. Little did I know that later on, when it was needed that Mrs. Washington get, shall we say, a little older, I'd qualify to do that. And lo and behold, I loved portraying her so much, I came to Mount Vernon to be here all the time, just as she did so long ago.
What did you like most about Martha Washington now that you have done so much research?
Oh, I really like her philosophy, and you see it especially when she's older in the presidency. It's kind of this: if you do it my way or the highway. She was very strong-willed, but she knew when she had to step up to duty, and she did that without complaining. Mm-hmm. And I think her idea of wanting to be happy and letting that affect your outlook on life was very important, and certainly got her through many difficult times in her life. So that's one of my favorite aspects about her.
It sounds like she's very courageous, and she took charge of her surroundings. Would you say that, Mary?
Yes, she did. And she had a very sad life, children. When you think about it, she lost all 4 of her children that were born to her, and all of her brothers and sisters. She had to be away from the home she loved almost half the time that they had it here at Mount Vernon, and it'd be very hard to do. But she loved her family, and she loved the general. I think her devotion to him is something I think is very special indeed. Everyone noticed it.
We have time for one question from our audience. Who has the next question? Oh, look at all these questions. How about this young man right down front? What is your name and what's your question?
Hi, I'm Lewis, and I was wondering, what was your opinion on slavery?
Well, Lewis, that's a very complicated question, but one that we always like to talk about and answer here at Mount Vernon. I myself, of course, have been brought up in our century to have a very different view than Mrs. Washington. But when I talk about what she felt about slavery, I have to remember to present what she felt from her time to help the visitors of today to understand what it was like in those days to have been born to nothing else but that. And it's a good opportunity for everyone to begin to talk about such subjects. So I'm glad you brought it up. I hope we'll have more times to talk about it.
All right. Any other questions? We have time for one quick one. How about the young man in the back with the red shirt on?
Hi, my name is Raymond, and I wanted to get your opinion on the war.
All right.
The war for independency that won our independency?
That'd be for you.
Well, we weren't always thinking about being independent, and it was a great, important thing that was done. What everyone should know that, of course, we didn't when I was your age. I never expected to be anything but a loyal subject of His Majesty. So little by little, we came to know that as free English people, we ought to have more rights than we had. And it gradually came to us this was the only way. But no one takes war lightly. It's a very serious thing to step into.